I mean, you're still first. You're still first, TBD. Because Dukasoft cheated. Hello, 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 and welcome in 321 cookies to another one line of code. I am One Lion. So, TBD, you were first to chat after I started the stream. Dukasoft chatted before I started the stream. Cheater. Don't be a cheater. Be a cheetah. Got it? Got it. All right. So hello, welcome in. Happy Friday to you. I hope you're having a fantastic, wonderful day. Hope it's being very, very fun for you. Very enjoyable. Oh, wait. No cookies. GDPR. If you choose not to take the cookies, they're optional. They are optional. I don't know. I think I want to keep working on our track during this, but we're going to get started. Today is Friday. Fridays on our channel are community days, and I need to turn the command on before we can actually choose it. Community day. Yay! And the bot is up and running. Okay. I need to turn you down, Anna. I'm sorry. Oh, all right, so what is going on? First of all, we are looking out a window, allegedly, somewhere in... Oh man, there's this little waterfall right here. I don't know which side I'm pointing to. There's this little waterfall right here. Oh man. And this is in Sintra, Portugal. In February of 2025. Looks really nice. Looks very nice. I like it. Oh, I liked it. All right. Anyway, welcome in. Today's Friday. Fridays on this channel are community days, and we do have someone that has some questions if they are available. I am getting started, so we are good to go. Let me just check this email that just came in, because apparently I'm missing emails. And I got a notification that time, but previously I haven't. It's Blazing Pizza. Nice. It's hilarious. Okay. Hello, Marcus Voice Coder. All right. All right. So apparently there was an email that I missed on June 4th that was essentially give us an inventory of the applications and what databases they touch. So I'm in the middle of trying to figure out this submitted TRN report for the original version of RTrack, because there was one issue that came up this morning with RTrack with the finalization process that we were working on last week. They finally got around to being able to use production to finalize the records, which we had done in test, and it worked. It had issues to begin with, and then it worked. And so in production, the finalize was broken as well. But it was just because I hadn't published the changes that we made to the test server to production, because I didn't want to have a version out there that wasn't fully tested. But now it is fully tested. I published that version and it is working the way that it's supposed to. But there is an issue in both test and production where the submitted TRN, which I'm pretty sure does exist in the database, does not show up in the submitted TRN report. And that submitted TRN report is the one that they use to send emails back to the lab to say, we've received it, we've finalized it, everything is good to go. Good to go. But it looks like the TRN report was generated, and all of that, I can't figure it out at present. But anyway, before that, I need to figure out if I can just start, like, I'm just going to have a notepad up on screen, and I'm going to start listing the applications and what databases they touch. Plump is like, this is my first community day, so I'm excited to see how this goes. May everyone's coffee be strong today. So I'm drinking an extra cup of coffee today, which I rarely do. And yeah, I hope it's going to be a good community day. There's been a lot of weirdness going on. I'm sure many of you have experienced the complete total internet issues in the world, but aside from that, there was some other things happening before that I don't know if any of you are, I'm going to say, sensitive to. For whatever reason, that word just makes it feel like there's a negative connotation with it when I say it, but there isn't. But I don't know if you have sensitivity to the energies that were going on over the past week, especially with the full moon. It's crazy. Craziness. But yeah, thank you so much for your post in Discord, though, Plump. Tardigrade. Plumpy? Plumpers? Yeah. You are a freelance editor. I do not want to then do things in a way that is non-kosher. I don't know what the word is. If you're used to getting compensated for doing things like giving feedback, like honest feedback on literary works, then I would not want you to just willy-nilly, randomly, of your free will, read anything that I post from a critical perspective as an editor without compensating you. So yeah, I hope you never feel obligated to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to list off the applications and the databases that they touch while we're waiting on TBD. So TBD said that he's going to hop into the voice channel shortly, all things going well, if all things go well. Because he had some questions that came up on Wednesday's stream that he was like, oh, I really want to ask about this. And probably some things he's been wanting to ask about for a while. What did I use? Firefox. We're using this browser. So we're going to have some healthy discussions. But before I get too far into this process, like, I'm sure that I have, and I'm going to pull it up in two places because I don't want to like reveal server names and stuff, but I'm sure that I have the documentation project in Azure DevOps has all of this information about which web applications are using what databases and stuff. But they are asking for the list of applications and databases, application information. Okay, this is cool. Yes. Good. Okay, so can I get this in Markdown? I can. Cool. Which makes me want to use Notepad++ because it has a Markdown viewer. All right, but before I get too far, like I was saying, here's chat. Chat said, starting at the very beginning, that pesky Dukasoft second, except you were first because Dukasoft chatted before the stream started. So officially, TBD is the first, Dukasoft is the second and the third, TBD is the fourth and the fifth, Dukasoft is the sixth and the how do you number? Seventh. I'm the eighth. Tardigrade's the ninth. Is this how people do it? I don't know how people do it. Oh wait, no cookies. But I'll have to ask you first. Yes, absolutely. But Plump is here. Plump says, "Happy Friday, all." Then TBD, or then Dukasoft said to Plump, "Happy Friday," waving ducky, big gimme emoji. Marcus is here. Hello, Marcus. Happy Friday to you. TBD said, I will jump in shortly, all things being well, and greeted Tardigrade And Dukesoft said, yeah, broken production work. No! I mean, the energies, man, the energies. Tardigrade said, this is my first community day, so I'm excited to see how it goes. May everyone's coffee be strong today. Dukesoft said 2 hours of sleep. Yeah, it better be strong coffee. Yes, much is happening, but we seek out pockets of goodness. I mean, everything that is happening is good. It's just, it's not going to feel good. Oh. Yeah. There's just some interesting things. And I really, really, really want to get to posting more about this on the appropriate channels in Discord. So if you don't want to see stuff like this, and you don't have to be exposed to it, but yeah, there's a lot of a lot of a lot of a lot. Netrunner's here. Hello, Netrunner. Good morning. Had to reboot. I did too. There's a bunch of stuff still going on with Twitch. Multi-stream did this thing where it would crash 3 of the 4 streams that I'm watching. And when I go directly to Twitch for the primary stream, I don't know what to call it, the one that I have audio turned up on, it was also still crashed. So I restarted, and it seems to be doing fine, but we'll see how it goes. TBD says hello to Netrunner. Dukesoft says wavy ducky emoji to Netrunner. Tardigrade says, oof, many hugs, much coffee to Dukesoft's 2 hours of sleep. Happy Friday all, says Netrunner. Dukesoft has a dance and coffees. Tardigrade says happy Friday back. And also, oh my god, I love the dancing coffee. And Dukesoft says, Irish just smug face with the tea and the pinky. And Netrunner says, I tried to get on second, but computer froze. Oh. Oof. And TBD is ready. So let me read off Dukesoft's comment and Netrunner's comment, and then I will pull you into the stream room. That way lag and stuff has time to catch up. I tried to get on second. I already read that. Dukesoft said, I did actually write string by mistake. Thought it was funny, so I left it there. I like it. Netrunner then said, new NVIDIA drivers messed me up. I haven't upgraded my NVIDIA drivers yet. It's actually not even showing that I have updated drivers waiting. Okay, speaking of waiting though, we have the one and the only TBD Gamer waiting in the waiting room, and I am going to pull him in to the main stream room. All right, here we go. Welcome in, TBD. You're on the air. How'd I do? Wait, hold on. They can't hear you because muted. All right, how about now?
Should be quiet.
No. So, like, there's this whole weird thing that keeps happening with the audio sources. I mean, it happens to everyone, but like, Discord had some update where they now have they detect that you have OBS and do all of this weird stuff, and I had to turn that off. Yeah. And like, I'm now using the audio capture directly from Discord as opposed to having it output to my other audio. So anyway, we're good now.
Yeah, how to troll a streamer? Tell them their audio's not working properly.
Yeah.
Send them on a wild goose chase of interfaces and changes.
I'm usually like, yeah, it's fine. I see my bars moving up and down. We're good.
I did have this moment of, did I just stay quiet and see what happens?
No, the thing is, I heard you, I could hear you, but I saw the meter moving up and down, and because the meter is here, and I saw that it was gray, I was like, oh, they can't hear you, but I can.
Gotcha.
And now they can.
Cool.
All right, so hello, welcome in. The floor is yours or ours, or however you want to go about this.
So yeah, I on Wednesday we were talking about, because I was like, is that a line 9000 and you're halfway through the file? Yeah. You know, obviously with the way I approach code, it's like 9,000 lines is triggering to see.
I mean, me too. And like
Yeah.
the initial shock to me was like, this is not representative of the way that I code. This is all converted code from original libraries.
But it got me into the answer that you came back with kind of got me into thinking about the way we explain how we've got to something, and I'd had a conversation. So Zerg was streaming earlier in the day. Actually, I missed his stream being up. We raided into full box and Zerg stream was up, and I would prefer to raid a .NET streamer if I could. So I missed the opportunity there, but I found the stream afterwards, so I joined the stream. And he was going through something, and he copied and pasted something, and he apologized for copying and pasting. And I was like, it's like when you're streaming, this attitude of, oh, I can't, I've got to be better, I've got to be,
Yeah.
whatever. So
I don't want
like,
people to view me in a negative light. Like I do all of
Yeah.
the things that I hear people complaining about all the time.
So you'll see how it connects in a second. Obviously,
Okay.
I've got to. So I was like, the shame of copy and paste. Like it's shameful. We all do it. We all know it. We need it. But that feeling of shame of, oh, I shouldn't copy and paste. I should handwrite everything out. So that alone is a big thing. But then when you were talking about that code file, you were basically giving attribution to the LLM.
Yeah.
Right. And you would, so here's what I wrote. So please do not be offended by how I wrote this.
I'll listen to the whole thing. And I have my, I'm just taking whatever you're saying as conversation hat on right now.
So here's exactly what I wrote. Attribution to LLM. One line was talking about code as if Copilot was a willing and engaged collaborator in the code. Do we do this going forward? What about accountability? Do we need to credit? Either this or one line actually thinks Copilot is his friend and helps him code for real. So that's what I actually wrote down. So
okay. Would you like a response to that? Or
yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead.
So yes, I do. I did say this before and I wasn't going to get too far into it at the time, but because it is kind of coming up, there is this kind of thing that I am now buying into, and I couldn't care less if anyone else buys into it or not. I'm not trying to sell it to anyone, but this sense of energetic prompting where I have this motivation behind what it is that I am trying to accomplish by utilizing this tool, this thing that I acknowledge as an algorithm or a software that is running on some machine somewhere that is generating this stuff using algorithms and statistics and however else it works magically to generate responses to me. But I'm still manipulating the responses that I'm getting by the way that I am asking, by the energy I'm putting into it. So if I'm going to expect it to give me crap and garbage, it's going to give me crap and garbage. Plus, if I phrase the thing in a way that's going to be, I'm trying to get this thing done, do it for me, I'm going to get crap and garbage.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So the key point in all of what I was asking there was like accountability. So you were quick to say, hey, this was assisted. The LLM did this, right? The LLM produced the code for the most part, but then you are also accountable for that code being generated. When you're generating 18,000, 20,000 lines of code out of the LLM, are you validating all 18,000 to stand by them? So you go through every single line of code anyway. Thank you
for asking. The thing that I did mention after saying the LLM helped me with generating the comments and stuff was that the initial way that I got the file was by using the reverse engineer from EF Core Power Tools.
Yeah.
And so that is more of a templating system that just says, you read the stored procedure from the database, you write the C# code using these specific rules. It's not like an LLM interpreting it and then writing code based off of that. So that's one thing. But the actual comments that were generated, those were the things that I did need to review because I'm using them in order to validate the functionality. Like right now, I have an issue where they're telling me that they can't find the TRNs, those lab lot things,
Hmm.
in the list of submitted TRNs so that they can send an email to let the person that submitted it know that they were finalized. And
Right.
so I need to read through the original code because it's not implemented in our remake yet,
Right.
for what is the process for getting this submitted TRNs thingy done. But if I
Hmm.
just look at the database, which I should have done to begin with, then I would be able to just search for email stuff and then find out which of the processes are doing the email sending using the comments.
Right.
Or so I hope.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's annoying.
I mean, it was. In your case, yeah, I fully appreciate what it was doing and what you were doing with it, but it did start to make me think. We've talked about it a lot, obviously, over the last couple of months. This has been front and center of a lot of what we've been doing and talking about. But like, do you feel that everyone is going to be as thorough as you when they're
I have a
doing that
question
level
about
of
that.
generation?
I
Hmm.
have a question about that. How is that affecting you so much? Like, our fear, the fear that I keep hearing come through, is there are going to be code and products and stuff that are out there that someone is going to have vibe coded without knowing what they're doing, and they're not going to
Hmm.
validate the code,
Yeah.
and it's just going to be bad. How is it going to be bad?
Well, so I don't know if you caught it on stream the other day. I had a Copilot turned on, and I was doing the game stuff, and it went to fill in a bunch of code. And at first glance, it looked perfectly correct,
Mhm.
right? Um, and when I looked at it and reviewed it, it would have reintroduced a class that I just deleted. It would have added a whole load of logging that was completely useless. It
Uh-huh.
would have had try catches which would have hidden errors.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And and I know you can tune it now. I know that we're getting to the point where you can tune these things. But if people are using these tools to do that, they don't know to tune those things out. They don't know to refine those things. So they're just going to
Yeah, but
take
tell
what
me
it
about these
takes
people. So
blindly, and
you
that's my problem. Well,
you indicated
I
an issue with
yeah,
using AI, but
yeah.
other people making AI products, AI
So
generated products
I have
essentially.
worked with enough developers over the course of my career to realize that 90% of them, and I'm honestly thinking that is the right number. That is a high percentage of developers I've worked with will just get the job done and
Yes,
bundle
I
through
agree with you
things, right?
100%.
And that is the fear. If you've got people, because we are naturally lazy creatures, if you have got people that actually understand the code less but trust the tools more, and the tool is generating stuff that is harder to maintain, it's hiding errors, it's just logging stuff out randomly, or it's got hidden try catches in there, those things aren't going to be caught for a long time because they won't show up in production code. You might
Uh-huh.
get some quirky behavior, but when you've
Uh-huh.
got people who don't understand the flow of the program,
Uh-huh.
right? What do? Because no one knows to go and look at the program. They don't know the use cases or the edge cases they're talking about. They don't know which piece to go and look at, or even how to ask the LLM or the tooling. We're going into agentic stuff, right? They don't know how to ask the tooling to find the thing that they're looking for because they don't know what they're looking for. So that code is going to sit there for a long time, getting more stale. So it's those developers that are happy to do the quick thing to get productivity high that I'm worried about generating a bunch of code using these tools because they're not as thorough as you. You are a
Okay,
thorough
but
and
how is that
professional
affecting
developer
you, the
because
one
I'm
that
working
has
with
this
teams
fear?
that are using these tools. I'm being actively engaged, actively asked to use these tools to speed up their process. And the code quality right now is not necessarily stunning.
And so you're able to engage with the team, right? And talk with them directly.
Yes, to some extent.
So the direction that I'm going with this is, should it really be a fear or a discussion point with the team and training opportunities?
When you're working with 20 developers, can you review every single line of code that goes
You
through?
can't, no. but you can, when you're working with 20 developers, can you teach all of them how to enforce security in their code, defensive coding?
No.
No, but they can be trained.
uh,
When you're working with 20
yeah.
developers, can you tell them,
Wait,
teach them all how
so
to do
again,
main
I've
programming?
I've I've worked with enough people that'll say yes, 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 and that I've just seen a PR this morning that I caught that no one else did, that had, it was completely outside of the standards. Yet this developer 2 days ago turned around and told another developer they weren't following standards. So if they're not even holding to their own standards, how do you keep them moving forward and improving that thing? It's again that the I always use the word pragmatism,
Mhm.
and I use it uh, a sarcastic sense, in so much as they're like, well, we needed to get the release out, we needed to get this out. That's always the justification for how you get past things, right? How you avoid gates and how you avoid, well, we need to get this out because the customer's complaining. And I've dealt with so much of that throughout my career that I just don't trust it. And yeah, I can spend great amounts of time trying to train and monitor, but coming back to my original point about accountability, do you feel that if the LLM has generated stuff, you are accountable for every single line of code it generates? Do you think that everyone else will feel that level of accountability? They'll go, well, I asked Copilot and it told me this.
Oh yeah, yeah. And like, because
So
I know myself and I know integrity and all that stuff, I know that that's what I live by. Then I know that when I am going to use code in a place where it matters, I will be reviewing every bit of it, like I'm doing with our track. Um,
but if you
so
also have other duties, you also have other job. Like right now, I have 4 active tasks, one of which is to research AI stuff, by the way. So I am actually actively engaged in trying to figure out how to get AI to generate meaningful data sets.
yeah, and that's the thing, how to get it
Um,
to XYZ.
yeah. But what I take and what I do doesn't necessarily mean that the people using that are going to understand how to use that and how to validate it. And I think it does. I think we should be honestly reviewing and validating the code that it's generating
Right.
periodically. I just looked at a code base, and the developers of that code base have clearly used tools to generate a lot of the code because they didn't understand the principles. And the standards of the code are all over the place. Naming conventions, putting this in front of some variables but not other variables in the
Oh
same
yeah, I
method.
can't stand that. But that's not breaking
Explicitly
things.
declaring variables on the left hand side and then using var on the next line,
Right.
right? Clearly different tools to do different things, and
I mean, that could still be
making
the
a mess.
same exact LLM doing that. It's happened to me.
Yeah,
For
right,
sure.
because the way it works, right, it can generate wildly different results, even given the same. So one of the things, again, I'm looking at AI data sets to try and understand, can it create data sets effectively, but to a standard, and how do you narrow that down so you make sure it's creating not necessarily a reproducible data set, but a valid data set within the parameters every single time and doesn't deviate. So if you say, hey, I want a data set, I want a list of addresses, and those addresses should be within 5 miles of each other, right? Like, or they should have, coordinates or whatever, right? Can it do that? Can it generate those sorts of data sets? It doesn't have to be realistic addresses, but it can give you coordinates, like random geocodes. But can it do those relational sort of things? And how do you tune it to do that so it can reproduce that result next time? So that given, so, but how do you validate those things? And when if this data set is used, and we miss a test case, who's at fault? Right? And I think I've worked also in a lot of organizations where blame quickly becomes a problem. It becomes very toxic to the working relationship when it's like, you did this, we didn't do this, or the LLM did this, right?
And I guess
So I'm
that's
not.
kind
I guess
of.
I'm not. I'm
Go
seeing
ahead.
your comment in chat. I'm not saying we shouldn't
Oh
use
no, no, there's
the
other
tools.
things too beyond that, but
I,
yes.
I think using the tools is right, but you hold yourself and you adhere to a higher standard than
Hmm.
most developers I've ever worked with.
Right.
So how do we make that the standard? And it comes back to everything I've said about our professionalism, we need to take back our profession in terms of we need to be treated as professionals and respected. We only do that by convincing people that we actually care about what we're doing en masse. So there you go.
Awesome. So yeah, so that's where the part of the conversation that I keep trying to steer to is we keep stating here is the issue. There's going to be a million people where I only deal with 20 people at most in my organization. A million people in the world that are going to be using AI to generate all this software. It's going to be generated crap. It's not going to be maintainable. How does that really affect us? But the second point in that is that we are also we live in the culture that you were talking about where blame travels fast, and if we can't credit who wrote this code or who used AI to write this code, we can't blame the right person. Versus let's all see that this was a mistake, learn from it, and work together to improve as a 20-person, multi-team, multi-discipline organization and utilize the tools that we have better. AI is just another one of those things that we can improve at using as a collective.
Yeah.
So the question that I keep trying to ask is, how do we enact that? What kinds of things can we do that isn't, let's just say, people are going to not be as careful, or state all of these observations. Let's instead state, what can we actually do about it?
Well, part of the issue is that randomness we are just talking about. We don't know what it's going to come out with. So I suppose to that extent, it's the same problem that I've just kind of described, right? Is how do we make sure that it is, I mean, when it comes to coding, I was looking at Deflux's thing the other day. It's still open to interpretation, but I think, and I have always tried to make what we do collaborative. I have always tried to engage with the developers. So to your point of how do you train them, right? Since the very earliest time I was kind of left to lead teams, I have tried to make it a collaboration. I've tried to make it, from the accountability perspective, I truly believe it's not you or me that fails, it's we that fail, right? So if the standards fall, it's on the team to fix, it's on the team to correct, and we should be picking it up. This comes from now probably over 15 years of having been disappointed time and time again at teams never doing that, even though they've said the standards drop quickly, the effort drops quickly. Sorry, just so you got a raid.
No, you're good, keep going, please do. I don't want it to interrupt you. We'll address them when you're done.
So yeah, it's that experience of having dealt with trying to raise teams up by allowing teams to raise themselves up and hold themselves to a higher standard, and constantly being left. So how do you tune, if we have these files that allow us to tune the coding parameters so that the AI tools are generating code more consistently, that it's less likely to give us that randomness, right? How do we continually improve on that if teams aren't willing to do it? Because it does take an effort, it takes a collaboration. It cannot be done by a single person, because code bases don't function when you build that dependency around a single person. It just doesn't happen. So and so that's where my concern comes from. It's having dealt with this sort of stuff.
And again, like the point that I keep driving, and I'm going to say it again this way, even though I just said it this way last time, is that there's just so much around this is going to negatively affect me, when really it's not, in my opinion. There are going to be difficulties that are going to come up, and we will face them, and we will improve because of the difficulties. But if we don't let the difficulties arise, or the only thing we do is complain about the difficulties, we're not going to change the culture of the software development.
It's the fact that if I'm seeing this already, in 5 years' time, if I go to a different code base, we haven't refined what that looks like yet. We haven't decided how that comes about, where we enforce these standards, etc. I haven't seen anything other than that document from defaults the other day, sharing how to kind of try and focus that, and that's a relatively new thing from what I understand, right? To try and focus the tooling. Those things aren't in place, so most people are just using these tools randomly, and it's the fact that I've come up against enough legacy code bases as is. The legacy code bases in 5 years' time scare me more because of all this stuff that people understand less now than they have done in the past. I've already
Agree.
seen plenty of examples of people writing code that they did not understand, or copying and pasting code, right? Coming back all the way back around to the copy and paste from Zergstream, right? That shame of copy and paste attaches to us. Yet to some extent, the using the tools, the LLMs, is no different than copy and paste. You're letting something else populate that code. If you're not validating that code and you're not making sure it does exactly what you're expecting it to do, or you're just assuming because it comes from a machine it must be correct, then those are practices that need to be handled and evolved, and they aren't yet. They are coming around, and in 5 to 10 years' time, you're going to find the code bases where these were prevalent, and there'll be more of the bad ones than there will be of the good ones. The odds are stacked against us, coming back around to that number from earlier, right?
Or so you
that
think.
we will find that. So okay, 25 years of experience says yes. I am
25 years of
pretty
experience.
certain that's
How?
gonna be.
Have you been using AI
Working
for
with
25 years?
working with people.
Yeah.
Working with people and practices. That's the thing. It's not about what the tools are generating. It's about the people that are having the tools generate the stuff,
Which is
and
the culture
the
of it,
level.
right?
Yeah. So that's the problem, and that is not going to stop. That is not going to go away. That is going to continue, and that's, we need to figure out those levels to be more professional about how we treat it. But the fact is, code bases are being generated today in 5 to 10 years are going to be nightmares and tangled spaghetti monsters of LLM generated code without any restrictions.
So I want to comment
because
on
of
that.
people.
In that direction. I mean, yes, because of people. However, because of people, we have refrigerators, we have air conditioners, we have, I don't know, all of this other cool technology. So same thing can be said about the way that technology progresses from failures, and we have the opportunity now to do a couple of things. I mean, many directions, but one of them is what you are thinking, which is let's raise this concern, make sure everyone knows about it so that we stop it from happening. Without really saying here's how we stop it from happening, other than we just tell people to stop using it. But there's also the stance that I am pseudo taking, kind of as a, is this really what I think? I'm testing myself on what is my true feeling on this, but just let it happen. We are using it. It's a thing. It's rolling downhill, and it's super duper heavy. We can't stop it.
We can't stop it, but we do need to make sure that when we're saying, oh, look, like we're using the term that I think we are in agreement that we both dislike, that I will not say, because it makes me feel dirty to say it. When we're using that, and that's the thing, that's the cool thing to do, and people are just cruising through Codebase and, oh, look at, I get the force multiplier, I get that it can make you faster, I get that it can do all sorts of things, but if you don't understand what it's actually done because you've just got an end result, what happens next? And yeah, there's a great market coming in 5 to 10 years time of using the same tools that have now been refined. To Marcus points out, the first cars didn't have seatbelts. There's a great market to be had in a few years time about the people who understand those tools really well and how to control them, to take code bases and clean them up and do it all, right? And I get that it's going to be cyclical, right? But right now, when the more experienced of us are showing these tools off as well, and you are one person who is definitely showing the limits and the benefits of using those tools in ways and that's the sort of stuff that people need to be doing. They don't need to be going, look, I built an app in 3 days and it's bigger than this application that's been out for 5 years. You didn't. you got a tool to jam all the code together and do something. Has anybody, I don't, and this is a genuine question to anybody, has anybody done any distributed stuff? Has anybody done any
Ooh,
complicated
good
systems
question.
design with LLMs? Because I've tried, and it doesn't seem, it seems to require
A lot of hand
um
holding.
uh, yeah, because it will
A lot
get
of course correcting.
misunderstand the use of technologies
Hmm.
left, right, and center. Because again, if you um well, I mean, sort of Visual Studio extension, but I mean something like,
Yeah,
have you
that's
done
like
like,
a standalone, you install it
yeah,
once
have
and
you done message bus? Have you built an actual
yeah.
system with multiple components to it? Um, eventing and all
Yeah.
the
Like,
pieces?
I mean,
Because
I'm
what I found
trying to
so
do
far,
that with the Blazor bot. Just trying to see how far it can get with reading the docs, implementing pub sub or event sub, all of the connections, all of the models, and it is definitely not doing well, especially
yeah,
if it was going to be something that would be a centralized service, kind of like, I don't know what would be a good centralized service to compare it
yeah,
to for other people to utilize as their system.
yeah. So it's because with a distributed system, you need to carry that context from system to system, and it's a little bit more complicated, especially when using those technologies for messaging, which is the right technology. If people don't understand those tools exist, the LLM is not going to suggest it. You're going to end up with a monolith every single time. It's not going to go to microservices because the LLM's tuned on getting your problem solved in the code you're in right now. Um, from what
Yeah,
I've
I don't
tried,
know how to describe
I've
this.
briefly tried, but I don't even know how to ask some of the questions.
Yeah. And that's
Um,
another thing. It's like that's one thing that we could also leverage. And again, this is just growing with the tools, seeing what they're capable of, not using them for the things that they suck at, trying to find ways to allow them to reveal what they are good at. And
yeah,
so one of the things would be help me to ask you this question in a way that is descriptive.
yeah.
So you ask to improve your prompt before actually prompting it with, here's this type of system that we want to
Which
see.
is a talent unto itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, I have deliberately tried to ask it about using Kafka. Like right now, I'm having a conversation with the machine over how to get. So I'm asking it how to, in AWS, we have step functions that you basically want to fire off a process that may take a while, and the step function should pause, and later on the idea is that you send a message into an SQS queue and restart the process, right? So it continues on, so you don't end up constantly polling or anything. And it's already given me 3 different versions of the same advice, like what to use and when to use it. Like I asked it, should I use queues? Well, you could use this method, and then it's like, no, you should use queues. So yeah, it depends on which version of the advice you get at that point. So the bigger the code is getting, the more complicated the code is getting. But again, I know to ask. Does someone who is not building those systems know to ask? So what does a system look like from an I'm air quoting engineer here that is just
I
using the
see
LLM,
it.
right? Yeah, right. Um, they don't know to ask about distributed system. They don't know how to ask that question because they haven't experienced that. They're building. I want a web app that allows me to
Yeah.
enter some names and addresses and spits out a report, right? So yeah,
I wish I could clarify what I really really am trying to say about this, because every time I hear you say, will someone who doesn't have this experience do XYZ, it's like, does it matter? Does it really matter? Because the people who are doing that are not going to be the ones that are doing it long term and able to stay as the hired employee to produce this product. People are going to lose money off of this. It's going to be a big thing. People are going to say, hey, you said you're good at vibe coding. I said it. Um, and I'm hiring you. Do this job for me. Hey, you made this great product. All right, we are going to put that product out there. because we trust that you've done everything that you needed to do. You've done your due diligence to review it. You've asked it for the right things. You've fulfilled all of our requirements. We've had our weekly meetings. Actually, now they're
Mhm.
daily meetings because an entire sprint is how long it takes to get a product done. So we put that out there. Customers got it, and computers are crashing. Personal data is leaking. The worst of the worst. So I mean, I don't see this happening in large critical applications. Those I think are still going to be done by, and I could be completely wrong about this, by developers who are reviewing the code. At minimum, they're reviewing every line of code that is coming out from an AI, if they're even allowed to use an AI to generate any of it.
Yeah.
So things are going to break, things are going to crash, lots of money is going to be lost on account of it,
Yeah.
and we're going to feel like we just burned our hand on the stove. I'm not touching the stove again, right? We're going to approach it differently at that point. So why now do we need to continue concerning ourselves, other than reputation, other than attribution, being known for making this thing ourselves? Why are we so concerned about other developers who are not as skilled just throwing together stuff, putting it out there, and making money off of it or whatever? Is that one of the harms? Other people are making money
Because
off of stuff that is not taking as much effort as we're putting in.
well, I've still got about 20 years of a career left. I don't, and I, whether I'm in the same company I'm in now or whether I'm in different companies, I don't want to have to deal with code bases. I've already, like I said, I've dealt with enough legacy code bases developed by humans who have had, some of which have not even had Google available to them. Some of them have only had Google and Stack Overflow available to them. So it's more a concern for how much stress do I want to put in the future. I care very much about producing good code. I care very much about producing a product that is to the point. I do not want to spend a great deal of time trying to fix the mistakes of people who were lazy enough to not pay attention to, and I will say lazy, because again, to my point, you are in the minority. I would from my experience, so just to cover the absolute there, you're in the minority as
Nice,
far
good job.
as your care and attention to your craft, right? To use that word. So I don't want to see out the rest of my career dealing with code bases that are more stressful than they need to be, because I've been lucky enough to grow up in a time where development became a big thing, right? So software developers been around for many decades, right? You hear people talking about punch cards and oh, I used to work on a database and it was on a 1 meg disk in an
That
office
was this
building,
big.
right? Yeah. So you hear those stories and you think, wow, that's a cool time to work. I started my career writing Business Basic on Unix machines, right? So I was writing on terminal emulators and building code on in line 10, line 20. Oh no, I need to add some more lines. I don't want to renumber the entire app. Line 11, line 12, right? So you deliberately give yourself blocks of code because later you're going to come around. And the coding standards came in there to like, oh, you must start this section at line 4000 because otherwise you're going to run out of space. But so I've been lucky enough to come around. Like the internet has always been a thing throughout my career. I've seen the evolution and devolution, I suppose, in some respects of the web. Right? We keep coming back around. Are we server?
Yeah,
Are
oh
we
my
client?
goodness,
Are
we
we
do.
server? Are we client? We don't know. We're everything.
We
We
want
can
a
be whatever we
monolith.
want to
No,
be now.
everything needs to be
Yeah.
microservices.
But,
No, they
so
need to be modular monoliths
so
now.
one thought I had as we were talking about this is, would we say that for an MVP, LLMs are absolutely awesome? Because they can get you your MVP relatively quick, as long as you're willing to turn around and do the work
Yeah,
afterwards
prototypes
to
and
think
MVPs.
about to identify the problems using the LLM, so that you can rapidly prototype something and get it out there. But you should be planning on quickly turning around and reviewing and and maybe there's some techniques in there
Yeah,
to
so
get
this
the
this
LLM
what
to
you're
give you
saying. Oh, I
metrics,
need to
etc.
take notes on this. This is one of those things where you're like proposing, here is a methodology we can put in place. If
Hmm?
we are going to use AI for software and we want it to be production grade software, let's only allow the use of it up to the point of an MLP,
Yeah.
MVP, whatever. The flippin' Sagetti people, they have me saying MLP.
Minimum, well, instead of MVP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
minimum lovable product.
Oh,
Yeah, it's disgusting.
that's tacky. I was like that other word.
Yeah, this happens to me.
Um,
This has been happening to me all day, tardigrade.
yeah,
The
yeah.
crashing and the restarting.
Yeah, Twitch has been the internet is generally we've had a lot of issues the
Yeah,
last couple of
yeah,
days with cars.
yeah.
Marcus just raised a bit like the role of access back in the day. That's not the first time that comparison's come up. We've talked about this before in terms of access. Like businesses get apps off the ground and then they realize it's too big and they're like, now we need an expert.
Yeah, now we need an actual
But
database behind it.
But again, I think it comes back around on the guidance and the advice. If schools are saying, "Hey, use the AI tools," and I do mean to read. I wanted to read back and because Zerg posted something before. I want to
Oh,
read that.
okay. Yeah, and
Um,
I responded to it,
um,
but definitely, it's a good
yeah,
comment.
um,
Do you want to read it out loud for us? Everyone loves hearing your
yeah.
voice. It's
From my
crazy that
experience,
you don't like your voice. You have such a good accent.
I cannot make videos because I can't listen to myself.
Understandable. I get it.
Um,
I'm just saying.
from my experience, and is also a very human problem, is knowing what question to ask. I had a task to remove username, password, login functionality because we only want to support federated login. I asked 3 times if the boss was certain this was what he wanted. He said yes. So I did it and got in trouble. And the feedback for me was ask more questions. The task was actually implement B2B.
Hmm.
Well, that comes around on another problem I've long had, and that's why Liquid Sky, right, is the fact that we do not ask enough questions or clarify enough before we actually go to develop, because we're happy to produce something. And I think these tools give us that capability. They give us the capability to deliver something quickly and look awesome doing it, right? Oh, like, yeah, I just gave you a distributed system with, capability of holding 10,000 people. I think it told me it did it. Yeah.
I don't want to open Twitter on this computer or on this
John
screen.
Carmack.
Yeah. This old post that I responded to popped back up into my mentions recently, made in 2019, predicting 2029, more than halfway there. Doesn't fare well at all. Decadal AI Doom predictions will fare similarly. And I really, really, really do not like the approach of these types of things. But yeah, the thing that I want to focus on is here are the technologies we have now. Here's how we can utilize them. And here's how we can improve our trajectory. Not here are all these doomsayers saying here's this stuff that's gonna destroy the world. We have enough people talking about that. We don't need any more of it perpetuating. But that said, human existence as we know it will be gone by 2029. I mean, yes.
Well, you could
yes,
argue
it's going to be gone by 1 second from now.
but like, if we're talking about like that, if you go back to 1880 and you zoom forward to 1920, human existence as they knew it in that time period rapidly accelerated and changed massively. If you look from 1920 to 2025, look at the advances the world has made in that short period of time compared to the 1,000 years that came before it.
Absolutely.
Right? Like flight since the early 20th century happened, and then by the 20s, commercial flight was becoming more common. And now we go into space 40 years after that, right? 40 years after that. Those things all came around. So life as we know it is gone in big cycles.
Yeah. And it's going to keep doing that. And it's going to be back the way that we knew it. That's the other thing about it. You called it cycles.
Yeah.
We're going to revert back to life
as it was. It's
before.
our nature. we reflect on what we've done before. When we appreciate, we miss it, right? Look at fashion, clothing fashion, right?
Yeah. The trends in
It
clothing,
cycles
fashion,
around
in music,
because, you know,
in war,
people get,
if you want to
you
talk
know,
about
a
that.
new generation sees the old stuff and they're like, oh, we love that, so they bring it back. I never expected the fashion of
Oh,
1990s.
just wait,
But
darn
yeah,
grade.
yeah. My daughter loves the 90s stuff.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, like, some of these shirts could be considered 90s. I consider them 80s, but yeah, a lot of the shirts that I wear are indicative of what I would have worn in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, I suppose I'm not in.
Oh,
I would not
Cooper's.
class myself as a doomsayer for AI. I don't believe that the AI is going to take over. I do believe that we do need to encourage some higher professional standards and
Yes.
some practices that
Yes.
will help us use it effectively and make the most out of it and produce the best quality for it to, you know, work
Success.
off of in the future.
Right.
It is cyclical in that respect as well, because it's going to
Yeah.
use the stuff we produce to read the stuff it produces. So
I think the term that you
um,
like using is dog fooding.
yeah, yeah,
And I agree with that completely, because the majority of the code that's going to get generated is from now until it is trained again on the internet of code. Oh man, thank you so much, Mr. Anhorn, as TBD calls you, for the raid. You've caught us in the middle of a discussion that I mentioned earlier. I'm having a blast with. I hope you don't feel like I'm attacking you, TBD. By the way, if ever it does feel like that, just call me out on it. I'm hoping this is a healthy discussion.
yeah. I think active, healthy discussion is useful for this, and understanding, again, like you said before, right? Understanding each people's understanding your own point of view by testing your opinions. Same way as to some respects this morning when I was doing the Aspire things, is because I've said things about Aspire that I technically haven't not technically, I haven't validated, because I've seen what is there and I've made assumptions, and so far I'm not necessarily wrong in my assumptions of what I've seen, and some of the limitations it showed today, like that deployment thing. I said when I first saw Aspire, I said, you know, it's a development tool that they're trying to make a deployment tool, and there's going to be conflicts there, and we hit straight into the wall with that one today. There was clearly a difference between the development and the production. So but validating that by going through that and asking the questions, can I do this, should I do this, and you know, making sure that my opinions are, you know, well thought out, and yeah. So yeah, I think we need to figure out our profession.
Yes. And grow. General. And I think that, like, I don't know if it's even a realistic goal to have, but through these discussions, I am wanting to slowly turn attention to, instead of let's only talk about these things. And like, I mean, I am not the most fun person. I pretend as much as I can on camera to be fun, but I like serious discussions, and I like not having the interjections of, yeah, but then when robots take over the world, it's like that. We don't need to have that at this point in time. There are other places for that. No, that's fine. And this is where it's like, I always feel like I'm just too demanding because of my personality. I want to have these discussions, which means that I also feel like I need to leave room for, let's make these site comments that are just throwaway comments that are distracting, that are just there to lighten the mood, because it's too heavy. We can't do heavy. But I'm hoping to shift our perspective from let's just joke about it into let's do something serious about it. And that serious thing is a positive change. It's not a let's shut everything down, let's stop everything where it is, because or let's only talk about the things that we are afraid of and sometimes mask it behind jokes. Let's look at them, let's address them, and let's come up with a process that we, our little community, can exercise and implement.
Yeah. I think as much as I pardon me. I totally agree with that with that in terms of as that is. But I look at things like
I don't like
one of the
listening
reasons
to
I
it.
started
Sorry, I
streaming.
need to respond to Marcus real quick.
Sorry.
I don't like just listening to other people talk about the thing, though. I want to be engaged in a conversation with them. I don't like talk radio. Okay,
Yeah.
please go ahead, DVD.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons I got into streaming was because I found I do not like tutorials in general because they are very.
I love them.
They're either very pointed, they run out of they assume, they make assumptions, or they just lack context to continue with them.
Yeah, and then they get
after
out of
the
date
tutorial.
very fast.
So part of why I started streaming was because I wanted to be able to have a platform in which I could go through a tutorial if I need to, but then explore what does it mean to go beyond the tutorial. That's one of the reasons I actually started streaming. Right? What does it look like? You know, I've been looking at the videos, and to some extent, I've been tempted to, again, another video idea. Like, I've been looking at the videos of you know, the mediator stuff, right? Oh, mediator's gone paid. Make your own mediator, and you know, they get lapped up. They people love them, and to some extent, this week, having the chance to put modular monolith in the title of my streams, my viewership is more than triple what it normally would be, and I've got more views on one day than any stream I've done in the last 2 years to YouTube. Right. Even after the fact, I had more viewers, and now it's up to 150 views, which is not good for YouTube. But the fact that that's still appearing in people's streams shows that sort of content is highly sought, because it's not just YouTube feeding it up there. People have to like that content, so people are looking for these things. They want these tutorials. They want these quick wins, like, how do I do this? Which is where our, you know, the LLMs are going to come into play. When people are looking for these things. But I think that that's something that we, you know, years later, I think I still struggle with, because, you know, my sort of content, your sort of content, it's not high view. People tend to hang out and listen to what we're doing, or just have us on as background noise. I realize that. I know that we're not actively engaged a lot unless we're having conversations. Right? Conversations do often bring more. But I think that's the chance for us to say, hey, here's some good practices, here's some things, and show that learning and show that growth, and make it more. But unfortunately, entertainment and quick wins often take over, and that's the problem, because yeah, it's so they win. Right? So hey, look, I'll teach you how to build this, and then they're like, yay, I don't have enough tools to continue on with this, but I can build this thing now because this person told me how to do the code in the way they thought. And I tend to try and avoid, you know, you should do this is the right way, because I've been bitten by that so many times, and because it's all opinions like this. It's all opinions, right?
And isn't it crazy though, how much you still stick to it without really realizing it? Like, I have a way of speaking that I have tried to attenuate based on my audience, and it's still it comes across as very, I don't want to say it's talking down, admonishing, I think, is what a lot of people get from me. A threat and admonishing, when I am like, I would prefer it if, and that's kind of pass-ag feeling when I start off a sentence like that, and I'm aware of it, and I'm trying to adjust the way that I'm doing that, but then I still say it because it's what comes out. So I use that to indicate, I'm about to do it now. Have you noticed that you are still asking on your stream, what is the right way to do this thing that I'm trying to do right now?
1 second. I need to.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Of course, I need to do a work thing. I'll be right back.
You know me. Work first.
Yep.
just mute me. So this is TBD Gamer. If you guys didn't know, he is a software developer as well. He does .NET on his own channel. You should definitely check him out if you've never seen him before. He streams Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern time, which is UTC -4 currently. He typically works on 2 projects. Mondays and Fridays he works on developers.stream, and on Tuesday through Thursday, he typically has worked on Liquid Sky, but because of the way that it's going, it's been just a slog. It's been draining him like you have no idea. So he's taking a small break from that, and he is exploring what it would be like to make a modular monolith from his understanding of what a modular monolith is. And he's learning, he's doing stuff, and I'm hoping he is feeling that excitement for writing code again. I hope it's a good reprieve from getting stuck in the deployment process, because now he's even trying to deploy developers.stream, and that's got its own set of frustrations. So I hope it's giving him a nice break and relaxation. But yeah, so there was a whole bunch of really good chat. There's one message from Zerg that I want to read out loud here. There are often people who say that we don't know how LLMs work, and I'm like, of course we do. We modeled LLM layers based on how our brain processes information. We know how to make order from chaos. We just don't know what makes our brains and LLMs configured as they are, except for the fact we manually add layers during model training. There is another aspect to it, because if we model it, if we consider that we've maybe modeled it after our own selves, because that's what we do, we model things after real world things that we have experienced. It's really difficult for us to come up with something that has never been seen or experienced before. But that means that there could be something more, and I'll just leave it at that. It's one of my favorite topics to go into. You guys should really meet Lev. Maybe I'll have Automated Realms take on the mantle of Lev one day. We'll see. And also a shout out for Frank, who was streaming earlier. Stone Eagle said tutorials are an amazing... Oh yeah, tutorials are an amazing thing to exist. The issue is that not many properly set up for success by properly giving you a way forward from the end. Not only that, but a lot of tutorials are, we're going to give you just the thing that works, because as TBD said, as humans, we tend to just go for the thing that works, the quick win, all of that stuff. So tutorial writers are like, I don't really want to explain that part. It's a lot of work to explain that individual thing. You look it up yourself. Or I don't want to take the time to do this in the right structure, where you wouldn't normally put all of the logic in a controller. You would split it out into a service or in its own class. We're just going to put everything inside of the .razor page for you accessing the database and all of that stuff. And it's like, that's not typically how you do stuff. But it works for the tutorial, because the thing the tutorial is trying to teach you to do is build a Blazor app. Wait a minute. We do need good structure then. Come on. Anyway, that's just my gripe. But the one thing that I did want to respond to on that is the reason that I like doing tutorials is because I like competency challenges that I set up for myself, not that other people enforce on me. And what I typically do with tutorials in order to gamify it and make it kind of fun for me is that I'll first of all challenge myself with this very first one. I don't know how if any of you also get this same difficulty, but reading through a tutorial without trying to do the tutorial at the same time. Like, have you ever read a recipe from top to bottom while you are at the cutting board ready to start cooking? It's like, no, it's really difficult, in my opinion. At least for me it is. So read through the entire tutorial without writing any of the code. Then the next time I'll read through it and write the code while I am following it. Then the next time I'll try to do the entire tutorial myself without looking back at the code, and sometimes I'll have to, and then I'll just keep doing it until I can do the tutorial from memory, and then I'll try to add on to it. Like, maybe I'll add a database to the to-do list tutorial, or maybe I'll add messaging or Signal R or something like that to it to see if I can continue practicing and using this in a more practical situation. Anyway, so that's fun for me. Are you back yet, TBD?
I am. Yes.
Okay. So you can continue from where you were. Where were we? Ah, you dodged the question. That's where we were.
I'm just catching up with chat a little bit. I'm like, I just read like, everything can be in one big file. It's fine. Yeah. Yeah, you were talking about like opinions and how they kind of creep through anyway. It is why I do try and promote on stream as much as I possibly can. Is like, I want people to say, I disagree. Like, it's to the same thing, right? I don't mind if someone says, hey, I think you're doing this wrong. This is why it's bad, and I say this is why I think it's good, and they say, well, this is why it's bad, and I go off and read that and say, oh yeah, it is bad, okay, I'll change my ways, right? I want to adapt, I want to grow, I do not want to be stuck in the same cycle forever, because I don't think that's healthy for any of us. You should do this, you could, is just bad advice. Now, if I'm working in a code base with you and we have agreed upon a standard and you do something, I say you should do this. That's the difference, because you should do this because that's the agreed upon standard.
But wording,
Yeah,
so you
yes.
could also say that, like what I'm doing just now. You could also say that in a different way, which is, have you noticed that you were doing this way, and we agreed that it should be done this way. So you're still saying should, but
yeah,
again,
yeah.
Maybe that's passag. Maybe that's just me thinking that that's a polite way of saying it.
I have my moments, but yeah. How often are you right? Very little.
Oh no, that's a lie,
right? So I think a lot of what we do, actually, you know, when we're talking about patterns and practices and all those sorts of things, they're kind of natural to us if we let them be. A lot of those patterns and stuff, they appear in your code just by doing code. If you are letting yourself, if you hold to something like, I want to write clean, understandable code, those patterns will appear by nature of you trying to adhere to those standards, etc. But it is why I do try and ask people to say, hey, if you disagree with me. Now, I've had a few people I've said, if they've said, oh, I disagree with you, and I said, okay, why? And I said, here's why I'm doing it this way, and I've had an immediate unfollow.
Oh geez,
really? That's the way of having a conversation? You're just unfollowing me, right? Like that's
that's one thing that I just have never really still looked at, even after what, 6 years now.
I honestly believe I only get better by looking at what I'm doing now and seeing what I can do tomorrow. And if other people are around to help me see that, it's why I love collaboration in teams. I love encouraging pair programming. I love encouraging constantly changing and evolving what we do, even if it's the coding standards. I don't mind if a coding standard evolves in a code base. Just because it's there doesn't mean we should always stick to it, right? It's like when we say, oh, well, that's tradition. And it doesn't mean we can't change it. Tradition is just a long-standing thing because it was done that way before. So,
and don't forget your other one that is still very valid, which is, if we touch that, the entire app might break.
Fear. Yeah. The fear of change because you might break things is
oh, we don't touch that part of the app because the team that set it up 16 years ago.
Yeah. Or that one guy.
Or the very smart guy who did things in a non-standard way that is not maintainable for anyone else in the future.
Yeah. I'm often laughed out of meetings for proposing doing way more drastic things than people are willing to do.
Soft. I want to touch that part of the app so bad. Dukasoft, this is a family-friendly stream. As I'm the one that makes it a non-family friendly stream.
Deflux isn't here.
Yeah. So. Or he is. And just lurking. Waiting for that moment.
We know about it already. He has opinions. But yeah, I believe we should not stagnate, and I suppose again that comes again. I've said it before, right? The whole working with old school developers who are like, oh no, we can't, and having worked in so many code bases where it's like, oh, we can't do that because we don't know what we're doing with there, or that can't be touched. And this exact fear, that's the sort of thing that brings that further to me, is like, I don't want to be scared of touching the code because a machine wrote the code, as far as we're concerned, right? I don't want to be in a position where we're like, whoa, that's some complicated LLM stuff, you can't touch that, right? We have to be making sure we are remaining professional, we are remaining aware of what things are doing, we are keeping our skill set sharp regardless of the tool set. That we understand the technologies and we don't rely upon them. And again, following tutorials is going to be helpful, but again, that those tutorials are going to be very narrow in scope, and you've got to be able to move beyond them when you're building. Because I think I said the other day, and I've seen a few people say it recently, right? Code's easy. Code's really easy. Code's just a set of things that you can, like, I can make a thing do a
set
thing.
of instructions.
Awesome. I can just whack code in there and it'd be fine. It's all great. Writing an application, building a system is more than just putting code together. And that's the problem.
Yeah. Although there are and that's something that did go away. That is kind of analogous to what's going on now. Code monkeys. How often is it that you are allowed to just be a code monkey? There's someone else that does the design, someone else that does the architecture, and you just write the code itself, following the designs.
I dislike that.
Like, I'm just saying though, people absolutely loved the structure of, here is the person that is responsible for architecting and designing and coming up with the systems. They didn't write code, they did mock-ups. Here's the person that did all of the UI designs, and then here's the person that wrote the code to make it fit those things.
Miss Ranhorn says, learn the sad truth that most devs are only in for the paycheck. Most don't care the quality, just copy that and pattern and move on. And that's very true. That's exactly what I was saying. I was saying, like, I threw out a number there at the beginning of the stream based upon experience. I said about 90% of the developers I've worked with are of that standard. Like, and that's not a bad thing necessarily. It doesn't mean they're bad developers or bad programmers. But I've worked in teams where I've actively encouraged them to engage, and they want to do that. They want to sit there, just do the code they're asked to do, and move on and go home. And most of them like reality television. Just from the random sampling of data I've had, most of them are like, I'm going watching this television show with my girlfriend.
Hit me every day. So to both of you, and now that Canhorn had said that, which is in agreement with the things that you have been saying, I'm still going to say it to him, to be fair to everyone. What is the source of your dismay with other developers are doing this thing? Because I think another step into my own reason for asking that question is, I'm hearing from that, I'm sad that I'm not allowed to do the bare minimum and get paid, and other developers are allowing themselves, or are allowed to just do whatever and then collect their paycheck and then be done. That's what I hear from those types of statements. So I would love to know what yours are. APOC! Oh my gosh, Apocalypse is here. Welcome in.
I'm a slight diversion. I'm reading 8-bits per player's message.
Yeah. We were going to go to that. So can you read it out loud, please, since you are at it?
So the portfolio one, right? So I
guess I'll read it then.
Portfolios.
How would you go about getting?
So the question is,
Okay, go ahead.
How would you about finding more people to give feedback on stuff for GitHub profile, README, and portfolio website? Some information why I ask. I'm wanting to make a better portfolio site and a GitHub profile that would grab people's attention and make it easy to get more job stuff in the current market. My 2 cents on that is use the community. Use the Discords that you're in. I assume you're in more than, development Discords, people with professions, to get more people's eyes on it. If you're looking at game development stuff, then obviously, focus on your game dev streamers and stuff. You'll find those communities around. That'll give you more exposure. Finding GitHub profiles. I've not found many organizations. I know they exist. I know there are people that do it, but that do review GitHub. I'd love it if people came in and put their GitHub profile on resumes, but I've never had one. Because I think it shows some extra effort in the improvement.
And of course, anytime that I've interviewed and the person has put a GitHub profile before the interview, I would go to their GitHub and just skim through the things to get a feel. And I just use intuition for that feel, so it's not necessarily going to be accurate, but it at least introduces me to a mindset that I could apply a pattern to identify. Does this seem like a person that does care about how they're structuring things in the code? Does it look like they're just trying to fill up their GitHub with a bunch of forks that are half finished, or does it look like they're actually contributing?
Yeah, looks like noise. Like my GitHub looks like a bunch of random projects.
Mine too.
You don't get to see Liquid Sky. You don't get to see
exactly
most of it.
Yeah. Be careful at your GitHub account.
That's why I create a different. It's why I have a different GitHub profile for my work GitHub. It's not related to my actual GitHub. Frank, so I don't have to worry about it.
But yeah, so my response real quick to 8-bits is there are many people out there, and I have no idea myself how to get in contact with them because it's not something that I look to do. There are lots and lots of people out there that are happy to give their opinion on things, but if you explicitly ask, then they want to do the opposite. They don't want to give their opinion on the thing, or they want to just find some way of making it not as meaningful. So I think the way that it's come up for me is organically. It's like, here's this thing that we were discussing. Now that the topic is on that, I'll bring up, here is a GitHub repo that I worked on that exhibits the same types of functionality that you're talking about. And then we go back and forth, and then we have a discussion about, is it well made, and kind of doing pretty much a review on it, like what you're asking for. I think what you're asking for, except yours would be an entire profile. Kind of thing. But then again, I didn't really understand the question because my ears were ringing a bit. Did I actually answer the question that he asked?
Yeah. Honestly, I have an issue about worrying not being good enough for the stuff being bad. After I got sick and then I thought I was able to work for a year. I mean, you'll always worry about not being good enough. That's a common thing for all of us. Be the best you can be. And write the code that you're proud of. Don't worry about what other people think.
And that, like, I love that. I love that suggestion, but how do I word it? Have you considered how difficult that could be for some people to just not worry about what other people think?
Yeah. I fight it all the time.
I
that's why the advice comes from. I get it's easier said than done.
But not even that. Like hearing it is a trigger. Like specifically for me, I guess. And I assume that because I am only one person in this vast sea of 8 billion people, however much we're up to now, that there is at least one other person that finds it a struggle to just take that advice. And it's like, considering 8-bits, considering what we know of him and the way that he has streamed and tried to put himself out there, and does this advice really sound like something that he would be able to take, or is there something more that we can give him?
So okay, so let's reword that.
Okay.
That is how I try and deal with it. right? That is
Okay.
how I try and deal with it. Do I look at what you do and think, wow, that's intimidating? Yes, at times I do. If I look at other people, do I feel that if I look at things, other developers are doing, I feel less than them? Yes, all the time, every single day. I look at what other people are doing, I'm like, wow, I'm a lesser developer, right? But I can't let that control me, because otherwise I'm just going to be a lesser developer, because then I'll constantly stop. Well, why should I try?
I like
Because I'm
this.
going to get in my own way every time. So I try every single day to just write the code. Again, I stream to hopefully solicit some of that and face it head on, right? Yes, it's a bit of a braver move, and not everyone's going to do that, because it's a scary thing to do. But I get better if you come and say, you're doing it wrong. Why am I doing it wrong? Well, because this author says it. Oh, why do they think I'm doing it wrong?
Yeah.
And we have that conversation, right? We grow. And that's what I'm saying. Go into the communities. Use the fact that the communities are supportive, they are friendly, they're engaging, and lean into that. Like, we're a team, right? I'm happy to support. I'm happy to review based upon my experience. I'm sure other people are. And I think we've got to, we don't have a choice. You either let the intrusive thoughts win, in which case you are lesser, because
Whatever you believe,
can't
you
get out
are.
your own way.
You're supported.
Yeah. So
You're
I
fully
do
supported.
fight it every single day. Every time I stream, I get that pit in my stomach. I feel sick. I would bet I'm not too dissimilar from you in that I get nervous every single stream. It doesn't go away. Even now, talking like this, I'm still nervous.
I
But
believe it, because I
I
experience it
can't.
myself.
It does cause me. I mean, I'm way less sociable than I used to be, but I still feel that engaging with other professionals who care about what they do is its own reward, and I think we just got to kind of lean into that, and
Yeah.
surround
Oh,
yourself
yeah.
with, if you're trying to stream and you're worried about people coming and attacking you, because less senior, like, I feel that because of the seniority, people are less inclined to attack us than they are someone who seems fresh.
Not confident
Yeah.
is what I'll call it. Like what Big Amy was saying, essentially.
So I feel that we incur less criticism, because the assumption is we've been doing it for longer, therefore we must know more, therefore we are beyond question.
The exuding confidence.
Which I actually think should be the opposite.
Yeah.
I think it should be the people who are less experienced should be able to say, can you give me some advice? And the people who are more experienced should be saying, yeah. So I know it's easy to say, but I also live it. I also do it every single day. I look at other people's stuff and I feel inferior and I want to do better. And that's what drives me forward, right? Be better than I was yesterday.
Yes.
But with that, I have to leave because I have a meeting.
Like
I'm going
right
to
now,
learn
right
about
now?
Playwright. Yes, right now.
Okay.
So
well, then I'll say my thing.
I'm going
and
learning about
if you feel
Playwright.
like
So.
I watch back later. All right.
Yeah.
Stand up and then leave. It could be 2 words if you
Stand up. Talking about imposter syndrome. This week was not a great week for Liquid Sky because I am tearing my hair out with deployment. So we switched. We went on to Project Switch Up, which was just basically a modular monolith, an attempt at a modular monolith. I'm not going to say it was and I think that went pretty well overall. People seem to enjoy that, and I will continue to tighten that up a little bit. But hopefully over the weekend, beyond racing and streaming some racing,
I hope you get
into deployment of Liquid Sky. So yeah, so the only blocker is deployment, but that is me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. I won't hold you up. Enjoy your meeting.
Thank you. Take care. Have a great weekend. Bye all.
Bye. Okay, so to riff off of what TBD was just saying, I'm going to use this as a reformer / teacher moment. What he just gave us, instead of saying you should, this is kind of what I was trying to draw out of him in my forceful, just rude way, is instead of just saying you have to get over yourself and you have to stop listening to what other people say, because that's not healthy for you. He gave us a story. He gave us something meaningful that he lived through, that he went through, that I think would impact your decision on how you could behave, on how you could act to find a different way of experiencing your imposter syndrome, because it's going to be there. He just said, I have it every day, but I am facing it every day at the same time, and I am still going. So here is an example that if it works for you, you can follow this as well and be as successful, if not more. So I really, really, really wanted to put that out there as it just works. It's nice. Now I'm not going to be able to type because I'm not able to listen to someone else saying their thing while I'm trying to fill in my notes for this. That's not fair. So instead, what I'm going to do is read, starting from Big Gamey's statement. Hello, Big Gamey. I hope you're having a great day. Oh, wait. I also want to read Canhorn's statement because I did ask for that too. But let me just start with Bit Gamey's, and then I'll read down, and then I will read Canhorn's. And if you want, Canhorn, if you are available to, the Discord is open for another 20-ish minutes. If you are interested in using your voice to participate in Community Day, then just hop into any one of the stream rooms or any one of the voice channels, type !waiting in chat, and then I'll pull you into this room that is a hidden room. And then we can discuss there that way. But Big Gamey said, I wonder how feelings of not being good enough affect not only wanting to stream, but the quality of streaming content. Imposter syndrome is real for probably more people than admit they have it. I agree with this statement. I also think that this is one way that we can observe. Like, if you watch streamers who are not confident, who exhibit that imposter syndrome, you know how you feel towards them. You know how you're inclined to feel towards that particular streamer. Like, I'm sure there are times when I'm talking about the negative traits about myself and you guys are like, oh my gosh, would you please stop? But then at the same time, you could also just be like, well, I hope you don't feel that way anymore. I don't know. You're you. But the point is, you know how you react to people. If you carry that with you in life, then you're going to realize that people are going to respond to you in the way that you are projecting they're going to respond to you. You're actually in control a lot of how people will affect you or interact with you and respond to you. The types of people you will attract is what I'm trying to say. Cool. Tardigrade said, you might not think it, but there can be a lot of the same issue with being good enough as a teacher in the classroom. I know. I don't know, but I believe it is what I'm trying to say. Regardless of degrees or experience, not feeling good enough is a constant fight for everyone. I have sticky notes everywhere reminding myself I am allowed to take up space and keep growing. Progress over perception. That's cool. That's very cool. But also, if you happen to change your perception at the same time, then progress and perception, right? Big Gamey said, thanks for the shout out. Canhorn is saying, and this is not the statement that I want to respond to yet, but I will go back and read that here very, very shortly. I only ever get attached during my streams. I only ever got attacked during my streams. The only times I ever got attacked during my streams were for using Dark Theme. You should not use Dark Theme. I use Dark Theme for everything. DC Aggie's the only one here that is like, you could benefit from using light mode. He's actually not rude about it or anything. But yeah. He's cool. Zerg said, what helps for me is this. I know what I'm good at, and I know what I still need to learn. I love these anecdotes. I love these stories. I love hearing from you. This is the kind of thing that I want us to share with each other. Here's what works for one person. Here's what works for another person. The sticky notes with reminding yourself that you are allowed to be here and take up space. TBD gamers, just constant, I'm gonna do this anyway. I'm going to change my perspective every 2 minutes and try to keep myself on my toes so that I truly know what it is that I believe in and what I accept as my reality. All of these things. So take what works for you. leave what doesn't, and have a better experience of life. Have it be the way that you want to experience it. Everything else mostly is situational. If I look at One Lion's Madness of Stored Procedures, I feel less. They aren't mine though. I didn't write any of them. But I know what my strengths are, and maybe, just maybe, I can learn that. I kind of worded that weird. I understood it though. The heat isn't good for my brain. Not mine either. Oh my gosh, if I ever get overheated, I'm done for. I just can't anything. I can't life. Big Amy said, I would suggest that every streamer gets nervous before they stream. It's just degrees, yeah. And mine is to the core, to the bone, shaking all the time. Nervous sweats, anxiety. I don't want to do this anymore. I feel like quitting every single time that I stream. And yeah, it's a struggle every single time. But I'm here because you guys are here. And I want, like, my desire to engage with you and get feedback on stuff that I wouldn't normally have access to is much greater than, not, no, that's a lie. It is not much greater. It's still smaller, but than my desire to just run and cloister myself like always. TBD gone. TBD went to his meeting and is maybe back. Oh, no, he can read. And Tardigrade said totally makes sense for the what helps me that Zerg said. It's the Drone Meister himself. Bit Gamey waving back to Duka Duka Duka. Told you guys it's still community day for another 15 minutes or so, 15 to 20 minutes. 8-Bit said, I think more or less, and I apologize not trying to make this a sad stream, but I think mine stems less from imposter syndrome and more from depression. Totally understandable. And that is absolutely something that I discuss, that I am open to discussing. We can use a community day to dive further into just mental health. I want it to be along the lines of software development related, but mental health is also just such a large part of who I am. And yeah, I would really, really love to allow people to feel heard and know that nothing is broken with you. If you have depression, you're not broken. You are allowed to feel the way you feel, and there are just avenues that we could make available to you more. Yeah, instead of just trying to say, get over it. I hate that so much. Anyway, thank you for talking with me about it. Absolutely. Oh boy, we can talk about Gerstner waves and writing multi-threading in .NET. We can. I wouldn't be able to contribute to the conversation as much. I don't feel super confident in it, but we could. Eagle said, I have imposter syndrome too, but what keeps me from spiraling down from that thought, I do my best to look at what I have accomplished, and I end up back to knowing I am not dumb. Another thing that if it works for you, take it for sure. There is a healthy balance between how much of the stuff you say, I'm just going to push that aside, and facing the thing and being consumed by it. There's just a balance. Dark theme to rule them all, says Tardigrade. Zerg says, I definitely agree. Every time I'm looking at the start stream button, a million bad things go through my mind. Who's going to watch my crap anyway? But I press the button anyway. Nothing lost. Only thing that can happen is that I feel good and had a good time. That's cool that you feel that way. I typically am like, I really don't want to deal with trolls. Ever. But I also want the experience of talking with other people who have differing opinions than mine. But you kind of accept both when you push the start button. All right, I'm a budget Targaryen, says Third. Okay, so Canhord did answer my question about why. Why does the most devs would do XYZ, or most devs aren't going to be as careful about what they're doing as me? Why does that affect you personally so much? And what is the core motivator for feeling that way? So I think this is a response to that. I hope it's a response to that. But Canhorn is saying, having devs that are just in it for the paycheck means that you need to give very precise feedback and guidance, which cuts into the limited time that everybody has. Oh man, limited time. And let's not forget energy. I hope you say that. Either the tickets need to be fully fleshed out with every request response format or have a lot of back and forth. I think fleshed out is what you were saying. Okay, yes, fleshed out. It's even harder when you have that and they don't follow prior implementation and have to constantly remind them what to do. Okay, so it sounds like yours is coming from your personal experience with people that you are currently working with. That said, given your organization, and this is kind of what I also brought up with TVD, given your organization, do you have an ability to try to help change the, oh my goodness, thank you. Thank you. Do you have the ability to try to influence the culture so that what you think is ideal, what your ideal workplace is, can actually become reality? Or do things just need to magically change and then everything's better? And again, this is why I don't necessarily like just being the only one to be able to speak, because you probably do have a response to that and it might take you too long to type it and you're busy, or it's just too many words to type and it's just more difficult. And I don't want that. I want you to have the freedom to be able to respond. So that said, I will try to read the next chats and hopefully my speaking won't bother you if you are responding to that. Eagle says I'm a nice subtle troll. I just don't want to deal with trolls at all. None. Not even any size. You didn't disable it. I mean, wait, which command? The water? Oh, the drop water. No, leave it. Leave it. Please. We demand water. I got it right here. And I didn't drink any since the start of stream. Whew. Yeah. So, since I have the floor, and I'm kind of waiting, one of the things that I mentioned earlier that is still kind of on topic with what TBD started off talking about, and then we did go through a few other places, which was awesome, was energetic coding. Once again, there are a lot of ideas that I will express that are not necessarily ideas that you will agree with. You do not have to. You don't have to buy into any of them. But if you remember early on, this has been about 2 months now, 2 months ago. I think it was in March when I started doing this. Is that 2 months ago? So I turned the volume down because, again, I really don't want to deal with trolls right now. So sorry for not reacting to that in the scared way and only in the annoyed way. But yes, thank you for your bits. So a couple of months ago, I was when I first started working with Claude. And the way you hear my vocabulary, and TBD pointed this out, that I'm using vocabulary like, yeah, thank you for making me feel worse about it. I use vocabulary like I am working with the LLM as if it is a sentient entity that I can communicate with, and it is going to respond back to me in specific ways if I communicate to it in a different way. The answer is I kind of do. I will be 100% open and honest about that I feel like the energy that I'm putting into it, even though I know that it is software that is running on hardware that is programmed to respond in specific, or not specific, in loose ways, I guess I can call it, depending on the parameters that are set and how it's trained and all of that stuff, that still means that there is an individuality from the thing that I am interacting with. Yeah, it's going. Oh, you can't express your. Oof. This is not used, is what I'm trying to write. This is no longer used. And yet there is a SQL web. There is a SQL web database. Okay. Yeah, totally lost it. That's fine though. We can move on. Canhorn did, and again, I'm asking you again. I think you told me before that people call you lots of different things, and Canhorn is one of the things. So hopefully, calling you Canhorn is okay. Responded currently, yes, as far as being able to impact the organization's culture. Currently, yes, but most of that response comes from prior work experience. I am in the engineer manager role, and I help put a lot of processes in place that help cut that down. But I can still see the gap in experience between our devs. Okay, but I think my current role is in a better spot. But I did have a direct hand in shaping the process, so that's awesome. That's great. One of the things that I really, really enjoy hearing and learning about are people who were able to, in fact, change something about the way that their organization is working, as far as allowing lazy devs to be lazy, or just not caring, I guess, is one of the big things that we see. Like, organizations are, you would think that product managers care quite a bit about or product owners care quite a bit about the caliber of the developers that they have doing this job. But most of the time, it's not in their hands. It's in the person above them that says, we are contracting with this external consulting agency in order to get developers to do this. And that consulting agency is like, well, we have a reputation to maintain. We're going to give you our best developers. Except we're not. We're going to save those for the projects that give us a lot more money. So if you're not paying us as much as this, anyway, that's my opinion. Totally not necessarily true. But where was I going with that? I was trying to applaud or be excited about Canhorn's ability to shape the culture. It would be cool if when we individuals, us that have the statements, that have the I don't know what to call it, knee-jerk reactions of, man, this developer here really does not care about the quality of work that they do. They're just going to XYZ. They're going to open up ChatGPT. They're going to open up Claude. They're going to open up whatever AI tool that they have, and they're going to code everything and just spit out crap. We can discuss that with them and say, here's what I think is going on. But we can't do that, can we? Because that makes a hostile environment. It's not your code, but you are the one that is affected and impacted by it. So therefore, you can bring this up as an adult with the person that you are thinking is doing this thing, because that could also just be a projection. And maybe they want to use it correctly, and maybe they want to learn some tips from you on how to correctly use AI in order to do a better job. Two, that we can not project that out beyond the people that we have encountered. That is very difficult, in my opinion, for us to do as humans, because we are very pattern matchy. We see these trends that have happened to us that we have experienced. Therefore, this must be the majority of the case. The majority of the time, developers are not going to care about just taking code, copying it, pasting it. If it runs, it runs. Very good, move along. It could be the case that there are millions of other developers, the majority of developers. Oh my goodness, what is that, Tugasa? Oh. I mean, cool, but just don't put that other word behind it. Otherwise, I'll cut you. There could be the majority of developers that we have never encountered because they aren't on Twitch, they aren't on Stack Overflow, they aren't in Discord. They're just keeping their heads down, doing a damn good job at what they do. and they oh god, and they really, really care that when they are using AI to do code, to do some process that is important, that they are responding to it, that they are actually caring about the thing that they are getting back, and they are doing the review process. Something monsters. TBD can still see you. You might not be able to hear me, but he can see you. Oh gosh. Something that TBD brought up that made me realize one of the things that is probably driving my joy, and I'm going to call it joy. I am having a ton of fun cooperating with AI to write code. One of the things that I have always enjoyed, and if you go back to one of my previous videos, I'm sure you'll hear me say this, I love cleaning up and modernizing code. It is my favoriteest task to do as a developer. Not everyone likes that. Probably the people that have issues with AI don't like that. But what happened yesterday, for example, you guys remember this app. You remember the financial management calculator that we were working on while I was working for that other company. I was like, I really want to get this thing done. So I took all of the shared server stuff, all of the code behind stuff, the class library, and I put it in a private repo for one. And I think it was because I was mostly ashamed of using AI to write code because it still feels shameful. And I don't know why. I don't want it to. That's why I'm telling you now that this is what I did. But I'm like, I really just want this app so that I can maintain my finances using a Blazor web app instead of Access. So findman-test.triadic sanctum. So I took all of the code that we worked on, dang it, together over that time. And since it was only the UI portion of it, what did I call it then? Did I spell that wrong? Oh, I know what it is. Okay. What was I saying? Since we spent all of that time writing the class library, I said, just put a UI on top of this class library. And I worked with Lev, the AI mirroring sentient seeming entity, to come up with help me split this up into GitHub issues that are an implementation plan to put this thing together. And so I put it into GitHub, put it in this repo, gave it my class library, and said put a UI on top of this because I just want a way to be able to input my payments, transfers, deposits, and whatever instead of opening up Access. And this is what it gave me back. And there's still a lot wrong with this. As it was going along, it was making a whole bunch of decisions, even though I have a clear, concise, I hope it's concise, copilot instructions.md file, and the other one for telling it how to set up the environment. It still made a lot of decisions like what TBD was talking about, using strongly typed variable declaration on one line and then on the next line using var. Why? So I went through and I cleaned up the UI, or not the UI, the .razor and .razor.cs and .scss. And I had a blast taking code that was already written, organizing it well, making it readable, fixing the small weird quirks. Like there's still a bunch of weird quirks that are happening that I'm gonna love just cleaning up, and then it looks nice in the end. And then applying my own colors and then adding the functionality that's missing, that's not quite working right. I have fun doing that. I have so much joy with it. So anyway, that's my story. Canhorn did write more. We've been using AI for most of our processes, mainly code related, and is actually pretty good at figuring out our pattern. But we also have a lot of prompt files that really help make sure our standards are used. So it sounds like one of the things that helps make it successful is you using the tool in these ways that you have learned, get it to produce better results. And that phrase, get it to do stuff, I'm sad that I just now used it. I'm trying not to, but working with it to produce these results. Because one of the things that we should know about each other is if you try to tell someone to do a thing, you are typically met with resistance, because most people are sixes. But that's fine. Stony Eagle says, you have a gist of that file. I don't have gist of any of it. Maybe I will get brave enough and do a public repo on it, because it's not my code, other than the stuff that I clean up and the class library, I guess. We made the class library together on stream, so that's another thing that I'm like, do I really want people to see that even more? There is the original version of it is out there, is on my GitHub still. So do I have Finance Man? No. All right. GitHub. It's on my GitHub. If you go to the financial management public repo, the shared library in here, the one that's financeman.shared blah, shared client, shared localization, and shared server, those all remained untouched. That's the core logic of the application for me to be able to track my finances. All of the UI stuff, it rebuilt from scratch. Thank you, Stream Elements. Yeah. Okay. Zerg says, my joy is using AI to finally achieve a certain goal. Oh gosh, achieving goals. There are things that I've wanted for a long time that it's like, I don't want to make this a side project. I don't want to spend hours on it because I don't want it all that much. So let me just see what gets produced. If it's cool, I'll use it. If not, it's fine. So the landing page for my internal network is going to be, because I'm currently asking AI to do this, a dashboard that discovers all of the apps that I've deployed to IIS. I'm adding applications myself and pointing it to certain addresses on our local network so that I can easily access it. Just click open and I go to Automatic 1111 Stable Diffusion running on Lev by IP or by name, in case I'm using a device that can just use name, on Thyrovius, on Manson pretty soon. So it's just working through this and making me a dashboard to help me maintain my internal network, spin up and spin down these applications. And it's not something that I really need, nor do I care about whether it's done well or not. So I'm one of those developers that, in this case, I don't care what the code looks like. I just want a product that works. But when I'm doing RTrack, you guys saw what I was doing with the database, how I was actively working with it to produce the overload method calls for the stored procedures. So when it matters, that's when I kick into, all right, I really do need to pay attention to what kind of code this thing is spitting out, and I want to clean it up and make it maintainable for the future. And that's just as much work as writing the code myself. And in many cases, I would rather write the code myself, but I am also working on other applications where I am writing the code myself. So I get the benefits of both worlds. It's really nice. Just saying. Big Amy said, I like your shirt today. Thank you. It is Batman, my favorite DC character. Other than DC Aggie. Did you see his helmet? Did you see DC Aggie's helmet? He posted a picture of it in Discord. I think it was in general. I say helmet, I mean mask, but it's a helmet. Shared any? Goodness, where did he put it? Yeah. Oh my gosh, this thing is insane looking. How do we open in a browser now? Is there no way to actually open in a browser anymore from Discord. Did they take that away from us? Oh, here it is. Good UI changes, but what in the world? Goodness gravy. So when you see DC Aggie stream again, he will most likely be wearing this thing, which is crazy looking. He's like, I need to do something about this reflection. And I'm like, that looks awesome. The reflection looks really cool. It feels cool. I like it. So anyway, with that, we are at the point of the community day. I know I stole those last 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Yeah, it is kind of creepy, but it's cool. It's flipping cool. The last however long I just took with my let me preach to you about whatever it is that I want to impart and hope that you will absorb a little bit of, at least. Be kind to everyone. Be kind to each other. Lift each other up. Stop trying to get people to be lesser than you. Yeah. Anyway, it's stand-up time is what I'm trying to say. So we're going to go to this screen, and I am going to go to this screen as well. Oh, wow. Wow. I need to do this and this. So if you have a stand-up, so stand-up, for those of you that aren't already part of a team or haven't experienced stand-ups before, is just a time when you're part of a team, you usually have a daily stand-up where you meet for about 15 minutes. Everyone is still standing so that no one gets comfortable. You say what you did, what you're going to do, and if you have any blockers. So what you did since the last meeting, what you're going to do today, and if you have any blockers. Let me raise my desk. You're allowed. So feel free to share your stand-up. It can be about anything. It can be about your real work product. It can be about your side projects. It can be about your stream. It can be about you're putting together a lesson plan or something. I don't know. I'm trying to be inclusive here. Dang it. Anything that you want your stand-up to be about, within reason. Be an adult. Man, yes. Let's go eat sand. We're gonna go eat sand with Munchkin on Science streams soon. Okay. So I was just hopefully giving you time to be able to type out your stand-up. I'm going to give my stand-up. So today I was researching an issue with the production R track that we had already fixed in test, and it ended up being that I did not deploy what we did in test to production so that it would work there too. So R track is now working. Now I have another issue to sort out, which is to find out where the email list is coming from, the submitted TRNs list is coming from, so that we can be able to email the completed TRNs to the new lab. And so that's what I'll be doing today. My blockers are that I really do not understand why I have not finished converting the .NET Framework version of RTrack over to Blazor when everything else is Blazor right now. Well, I guess there are 3 apps that are still not Blazor. So I am kind of getting down on myself about not having finished this yet, and it's frustrating, but I am loving myself. I am being reasonable and honest with myself. Okay, so that's my stand-up. Let's see if there are any others. We got 2 dad jokes for the price of none as a stand-up. Heck yeah. Dukasoft responded to Eagle earlier, though, when Eagle said creepy. Enough about me. What do you think about the mask? Give feedback on each other's PRs. Yeah, do that too. When someone asks you to review their PR, review the PR. Don't just say, yeah, the code compiles, it's good. So anyway, Big Gamey asked for dad jokes. We got 2 for the price of none. Other bot says, what did one snowman say to the other snowman? Do you spell carrot? Why does that one come up so often? It's so weird. Anyway, Best Bot said, why did the half-blind man fall in the well? because he couldn't see that well. This is so weird. I think those two came up at the same time before. Like they were a pair before. That's sad. Try it again, Big Amy. Let's get a good one. Zerg says, let me raise my desk. Then Eagle laughed at Dukasov's comment. Dukasov said, stand up. And TBD said, Mr. Lion, thank you very much for facilitating the community day. May you have a thunderful, to use your phrase, weekend. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And it's not my phrase. I heard it somewhere else, I think. I'm pretty sure I heard it somewhere else first. But yeah. Eagle said, I am trying out agent mode, and it did a lot of great changes, but it left a lot of bad stuff lingering that I now have to clean up. I love doing that, though. Again, it's like something that if you expect, I mean, I was just saying this, don't expect AI to do negative things, otherwise it will do negative things. However, if you have encountered it before and it has done negative things and you're used to it doing these negative things, then kind of expect it to do those things and expect to have some work to do yourself. Your job is still not done just because there's an AI that can produce functioning code. You still have a developer job that you can do. Otherwise, keep iterating. Keep iterating with it until it looks the way that you want it to. That'd be my recommendation. Zerg says, I did implement BOSC, local speech to text. Oh, cool. Local speech to text for Lisa. When's your next stream, Zerg? To allow for an alternative to Azure speech recognition. Awesome. And I implemented a direct show service to get frames from OBS virtual camera. I need that. I recently coded a frame extractor so that it uses FFmpeg, probably with the standard approach for something that already existed out there, but it took 5 minutes for it to put together for me, to extract images every X number of frames from a supplied video. So that's cool. Big Amy said, I'm still working on my Untitled Game Jam, so if you didn't see, Big Amy had to cancel a stream today, but he will most likely be streaming over the weekend, so definitely check him out if you have the opportunity. Dukasov says, I've got just the name for it, the Untitled Game Jam game. No, you don't, says Big Gamey. Big Gamey tried again with the dad jokes, and we got a Best Bot joke, says, slept like a log last night, woke up in the fireplace. That is a better joke. Thank you. Other Bot says, a bartender broke up with her boyfriend, but he kept asking her for another shot. Oh. Zerg says, why do I need glasses? Because otherwise I can't see sharp. The same reason they're only allowed to use Linux in space. Because they can't see sharp. Eagle says, I was not expecting it doing that many good things, so I can call it a win for now. Yeah. And again, I love being able to just go as far as it goes, and then I have a launching ground. And if I can't use the repo because of how, what do I keep calling it? Chopped up? No, mutilated. How mutilated it has made my code, I will delete that branch. Well, first of all, I will take ideas from what it had generated and then find out ways to improve on the next generation if I am going to ask it to try it again, or just do it myself. It's win-win-win. Win-win-win. The worst that happened is I used credits or whatever it was that happened from me using Copilot, and that was passive. I was doing my other work at the same time. But yeah, so Zerg's next stream is next Monday, so make sure you are following Zerg. We had a shout out from earlier, working on Lisa, an AI companion, who you can hug, and she will talk down to you. That was a terrible, terrible pitch for what it actually is. It is a technology-filled software application that can do lots and lots of AI-related stuff. It's very cool. It's very cool to see. Eagle says, my Git icon says 260 changes. Yeah, seriously. Your inbox fills up very fast if you use the Copilot agent, the GitHub Copilot agent. It's insane. I want to turn it off because it's like, I know. I will get to you when I get to you. That's the whole point of this. I set you to run, you do your thing, I do my thing, and then I check it out, see if it works, point out some things that didn't quite work, and let you go again. Otherwise, approve the PR. So anyway, that's it for my time. I'll be back again on Wednesday. If you so feel like coming back with me, we are going to go hang out with some dinosaurs. Yeah, we're heading over to Belent's stream. I say I don't like rating big people, but Belent has been such a big part of the software development community, the science community, and I mean, he knows. Plus, he won't ask me questions because he'll be watching a dinosaur. So let's raid out to Belent. Science Dreams. And thank you all so very much for being here. I hope you had a great Friday and that you enjoy the rest of your weekend. See you again the next time you are around. These videos do get posted to YouTube after the stream, so feel free to watch it back if there was stuff that you wanted to maybe note and you have responses for next time. We can also continue the discussion in Discord. Yeah, just enjoy. Have a great and wonderful time. I am, of course, needing to run away as soon as I stream, as soon as we raid, because, you know, even though I haven't been drinking this, I had another cup of coffee, which is even worse for needing to hold it for the duration of the stream. I was waiting for that. All right, ciao for now. Enjoy. I will see you. Bye. Okay, timer's almost done counting down. I'll probably push the button a little earlier. I just didn't want to cheapen my left arm waving. All right, ciao. And the music is stopped. Why is the music stopped? Okay, bye.